Spring. Today is Tuesday, March 27, 2018. I'm Fran Duvall, your host for today, and our first guest, or I should say, well, anyway, our first guest is Lynn Keefe from General Services, who manages such a vast lot of the problems and good things that happen here. Hi, Lynn. What's going on that you want to talk about today?
Well, thank you for having me today. It's a great team, and you're right. We do manage a lot of problems. We like to say, you know, folks don't always call us when things are working well, but that's okay. That's what our department does. So, you and I were talking before we started about windows, because you said that they were getting close to installing your windows. And we have begun in Neighborhood 3. They made sure that the apartments that were damaged by the sprinkler line break in early January had windows put in, so we've done a bit of a gentle start and want to reassure residents that they will receive communication. Our teams had lots of questions. Folks say, well, you know what, my neighbor down the hall was getting windows, but I haven't been contacted. And so residents from the rest of the campus who've already had their windows will tell you it's not necessarily in order. So if your next door neighbor's getting them, it doesn't mean you're next. They have a strategy to the way they work. Sometimes they're working in a vertical, so they're doing a stack of apartments. So it may be one from each floor. So rest assured, you will get communication at least a week in advance to advise you that the windows are coming. You'll probably see activity in your floor, but don't get worried and think that you're just going to wake up one day and
have to have your windowsills cleared off. Right.
It won't work like that. You'll get plenty of notice. So know that they are going to be coming to you in Neighborhood 3.
Good.
They've also begun work on the hallway refresh, and we were a little slow getting started. Parts that they thought were going to be available weren't, and we had to make some adjustments. But they are working over in Parkview. They're doing 2 floors at a time, painting on one floor, electric on another. There will be general information that goes out to those residents, but it won't affect residents directly. They don't need to go into your apartment. Just an awareness that they'll be on your hallway. You know, a couple other things that are some activity over as a part of repositioning. The cooling tower behind Garden Ridge is something that is being managed by our team. So they have a temporary tower in place. They're going to be replacing the original cooling tower, and so there's a temporary one that's been running for a week, making sure that that's capable. Then they'll begin deconstructing the old one in anticipation of the new one. So much activity back there in addition to all of the other building that's going on. Something that residents have ask about is the hearing enhancement, and you've probably heard me talk before. We call it T-coil, and that's going to be going in the Acatink and the theater. So they've come, they've measured, and our project manager is trying to get that scheduled. They need 2 whole days, and as you can imagine, you were talking about the play, it's busy. So they're trying to work around that and make sure that they can get it done without interrupting the activities that are in there. So the goal is by April the 15th, and then they'll have information sharing about how that might work for folks who have hearing aids, and how do you activate that.
So there wouldn't be any more of the hearing devices.
So we'll still have those, because the T-coil works with folks who have a hearing aid who have that component. It blocks out a lot of that white noise to make it clear. But we also have the handheld devices that have a piece that somebody without a hearing aid can use. Some people have their own. They can purchase those. They can work at outside places. I know a couple folks say, oh, I use it at my church. So those are still going to be available.
Okay.
Yes. we're adding an interior door over in Grove Terrace. We replaced the exterior door that had some functional issues. Took us forever to get that from the manufacturer. But we're also adding an inside door, and that goes right out into the parking lot across from the elevator. So it's to be scheduled in the next, within the week. We had to wait for permits and the fire marshal inspection. Now we're just waiting for them to come install.
And that will be an automatic door as well?
It will be.
With a pad that you touch?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm not sure that's all going in initially, but the door will be there.
I've used that entrance a lot when I go over from like the chapel area over to the...
very convenient.
It just cut across.
Right, so you'll see it should be a pretty quick install. It's not a significant amount of construction. So we have these beautiful spring flowers, and so season change, even though it doesn't quite feel like it outside.
Tomorrow it will.
We're hoping that we're moving in that direction, and so we saw what we hope is our last snow of the season last week.
Amen.
And we were glad because it was very quick melting. You know, we got quite a bit, got it cleaned, and it melted before we had to do a whole lot more with that. But with that spring comes a lot of work around the community. So you'll see planting and irrigation testing, and I believe hose bibs are going to be turned on this week. So I'm sure folks who are planters will be eager to get out there, get their hands dirty.
Out in the garden.
Yes, yes. So all of that work is going to be going on. Hopefully we'll be seeing, you know, more spring planting and flowers. I know there are some beautiful spring flowers in pots in the lobby, so we're headed in that direction.
Right.
You know, with that movement, and we've got lots of work, and we talked about projects, parking. So it is a mountain of a job, and I just encourage folks, you know, we get reports, security tries to really stay on top of it. Obviously, resident care is their first priority. I've joked that I think we could probably employ a few meter maids full-time, but we do ask for folks' assistance. Make sure that you're talking with your guests, making sure that they park. If you observe, you know, a vendor vehicle, somebody who's parked inappropriately, please let us know. We'll get it addressed. As our team's out and about, we try and monitor that too and get folks moved. So, but we do ask for everyone's assistance. And then, of course, safety, monitoring speed, 15 miles an hour on campus.
Yeah.
It's a tough job, but we have so many people, especially as the weather's going to be warmer. They're going to be out and about, and we don't want anyone injured.
That's right. That's right.
So proceed with caution when walking. And
some of these quiet cars we have, like I have, people don't even hear it coming up behind them or whatever.
That's right.
Yeah.
We always have to be paying attention, whether we're the walker or the driver. So just proceed with care, and parking decks as well. You know, a little reminder about trash. There are trash cans by many of the entry doors. Those are not for our residential trash, so just a reminder. If folks need an extra pickup, they can call General Services, but we're the only community who does trash and recycling pickup 5 days a week. So we don't want the outside cans overflowing when it can be put right outside your door.
That's right.
Yes. So a little plug for Earth Day coming up in April. I'm going to be sharing some information about what we do here at Green Spring. Much of it behind the scenes, or unless you're really interested, you may not have heard. And so we'll be talking about that. How do we reduce our carbon footprint? What do we do to recycle, and what green initiatives are going on? So we'll talk about that in a special segment. Yeah, so watch for that. I'm sure Diane and her team will be sharing all of that information as well. You know, some other topics we talked a little bit about at Coffee with the Exec team. You know, the rumor mill is always a little healthy, right? So more information to come, but we've heard folks' concerns about the computer lab. How are we going to offer training? We've heard you. We absolutely understand, and we know that we want to have a place where we can teach. We want to make sure that the library meets the needs of residents. We've talked about adding workstations in other clubhouses. I've heard from the treasure chest, you know, with all of the repositioning that's anticipated. Are they going to have enough space? And we're working on all of that. I know Chandra said once we meet with corporate partners to make sure that we understand. We're the ones giving that input about how rooms are used, hearing from residents. So much more.
I think the residents should come first.
Absolutely, and that's how it works. But we are overdue for an update. But rest assured that information will be shared as soon as we're clear on where everybody is in the process.
Yeah, I've heard some of the rumors too about what rooms are being taken away and so forth. And I just put it to rumor right now till I see something in writing, and
that's right.
Then
but
I can gripe about
it's fine to ask lots of questions because everything that's going forward is based on what we hear from residents. What do they want? What do they need? So we will be addressing that. Just want to make sure folks hear that.
Okay.
So one last item I had just talks about communication, and there's, you know, we have Nahid, who is our new communication manager, and she's hit the ground running and has taken over the flash, which I think residents really like getting. It's every 2 weeks, and that's really intended to be high-level information. It gives you just enough information to know what's going on and maybe go where to find out where you might find more information.
To get more detail.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right, because it's a more timely publication, and then you're going to go find detail. It doesn't have
it very much.
Good.
Personally.
And you know, the Villager is where you're going to get more of your human interest story, much more detail.
Right.
But she's also taking a look at how do we have more information about if you're planning an event, what's already on the calendar, how do you not conflict, and that can be challenging when we have hundreds of resident groups. But we want to. There will always be some, you know, multiple events going on, but we want to make sure they're not major events that are bumping into each other. So she'll be working on that initiative as well, hearing from the residents, what's working, what's, you know, great timely communication. So, but the flash continues, and she's working with that group and really enjoys that. So we're working to make sure that our communication is timely, that folks know what the expectations are. So.
Well, in that regard, we residents book our events through community resources.
Correct.
Staff. So is she working with community resources?
She is, and she actually has access to that system.
Okay.
And that's one of the major calendars. There are several, and it's how do we incorporate all of that. And it may not be into one calendar, but if you're an event planner, you may need to know that, okay, well, I need to look at this calendar, and you know, to gather all of that information.
Yeah.
So we have a group working on that and getting feedback as well.
Okay. Wow. As usual, Lynn, you come with updates on so many different projects that your department does, and I'm pleased. You should be on every week to update us, because it's all ongoing. It's all, a lot of it's current, a lot of it. So I hope you have a nice big checklist that you can check off all the things you finish, because it must feel good to accomplish.
Yes, and we try to share those too, so folks don't forget.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.
Absolutely.